Morning, folks. Today's soap is brought to us by Palmolive. It's a stick soap. Took a cheese grater to it, put it in the Old Spice mug, pressed it down in there. That's what it looks like lathered up with a ever-ready brush that was reknotted by Frank Strike Gold Shave. This was done quite some time ago. I was trying to remember how long ago it was. 3 years, maybe more. It's been a moment. But anyhow, this is an ever-ready 150. And it's a good looking brush. Got it all lathered up, ready to go. I'm going to follow the shave up today with a, I guess you might say, a manly type scent. This one here is by Master, it's named Topaz. Scent profile on this one here would be like a woodsy tobacco pepper type scent. It's yeah, definitely a manly scent. Now I've got a link down below for this one here. It's this is a 3-ounce variety. These do come in larger containers. This one here is a whole $1.95 if you get it at Atlanta Barber and Beauty Supply Shop there. Like I say, I got a link down below. Very inexpensive, and it's got a nice restrictor there to help keep a whole lot of it from coming out at one time. Shave of the day is a little bit of a story on this one here. With a blade I'm going with, I decided to go ahead and go with a Personna blade today. This is called a Conrad. This is an Open Comb. I don't know whether the camera's going to pick it up or not, but it is that's a two-piece design. So in other words, it works like this. That's what it looks like there on the underside there. I have a link down below to Maddie's YouTube channel, and he shows how those posts get put in there, at least the way that he does them on his razor that he was making, and you can kind of see the dots right there on the top, indicating that maybe the same thing was done when this one here was put together. Anyway, thought it was pretty cool how Maddie was showing on his video. So if you missed it, didn't catch it, I got the link down below. If you're interested in watching on how that's done, or at least how Maddie did it. Change up a little bit, not going to be using the Preshave oil, going to use the Preshave soap. This one here is the Christmas variety. Already put a hot towel to the face this morning, and going to get started with the Preshave soap. It still has that scent. To me, it just kind of amazes me sometimes on something that sets out, not closed up, to help retain any of the scent or anything else. And even after all this time just sitting out, it still retains its scent. And my nose picks it up, which is pretty darn good. That's not always the case with my nose. It's a part-time worker. Very much part-time. But this scent to me is very pleasant to my nose. And I think Immortal Peach, and I think there's one more new one in the way of pre-shaved cubes available if you're interested in picking one of them up. It's they start out 8 ounces and run you about $10. You can see it doesn't take very much work to lather it right on up. On a pre-shave soap, yeah, that's just about good enough to go right with right there, isn't it? At least it is for me. For me, the pre-shave soap sometimes is just fun to work with. Put a little bit more water to it and you'll be ready to go. Started out with a blade of choice. This story started out, this shave did not start out very well. I was going to use a Gillette Silver Blue, and I got to open up the pack, got a blade out, put the blade in, and I mention it from time to time, and it's been a while since I mentioned it, that the light has a tendency, especially in this bathroom, it hits the blade a particular way. And so in other words, the glint off of where the bevel is at. and I noticed that the light going across the edge of the Gillette Silver Blue was not consistent. So I got my jeweler's loop out, inexpensive one. It's just a 10 power. Nothing fancy, inexpensive. Does the work for me. Brings it up to the point where I can see what's going on with it. And sure enough, I don't know what happened in the process, but the bevel didn't look like it was set. The grind was terrible. The you know how this is more or less straight going across there. These the corners on those Gillette Silver Blues were rounded, seriously rounded, not just a little bit like this one here is. I mean, it's like seriously rounded, like something just went way wrong. So that went in the bin. My container I got sitting over here just full of used blades. And so went to the next one in the pack. I went through that whole pack. I mean, some of them were even worse than others, which was pretty bad to begin with. It just looked like they missed the process. Something just went like way wrong. So I went ahead and went through that pack, opened up the next one. First two and the next pack was the same way. It just looked like they just didn't make it through the entire process, or something went nuts when those blades went through. They were just terrible. You can tell by looking at them that no, these are not shave ready by any means. But by the time I got to the third blade in that pack, in the next pack, found a good one. So I put it in a different razor and gave it a test try yesterday. Worked just fine. But yeah, when I was first starting to set this one up. So after I went through actually it was after I saw the first one, decided I'm going to go with Personna. I know I can trust it. This is the first time I've ever had a Gillette do that though. Typically, they're very dependable in the way of quality and the shave and consistency, and it's just really, I was just shocked, you know, just to see that blade looking so bad. I mean, it was awful. What caught my eye on the first one was that it looked like that there was a flat spot on the edge of the blade, and that's what caught my eye, because the light was not shining consistently all the way across. So it, you know, got me to look and, you know, see what was going on with it. And the more I got to looking at it, the more I was shocked on how bad it was. So hopefully I don't run into any more, because that came out of 100 back. So my first thought is, after I went through the first pack and then started the second one and it's starting to see the same thing, thought that the whole 100 was just shot. That was not going to make me very happy. Because I like, of the Gillette blades, I do like the Silver Blue. It is one of my favorites. I have to say the next one is probably the Platinum. Usually I've had really good luck with the Platinum. Just a tiny, to me, just a tiny bit difference in between the shave feel in between the Silver Blue and the Platinum. You can find these Conrads on eBay from time to time. Handles fake lights, and it comes in different colors. I think it's either a black or a dark green color one, and then this one here, which I guess you might say is off-white. You will see them from time to time, not very often, and usually not too terribly expensive. Excuse me. This one here being raw brass, I have thought about just leaving it just the way it is. In other words, not to have it recoated or anything like that. Just leave the raw brass the way it is. Not, at least not in my travels, have I found a lot of information about this particular razor. Outside, it is believed that these are out and about in the 30s. which in other words, all the weight's in the head with this being a more or less a plastic handle. But it works just fine. I mean, it's it's very simple razor. And like I say, it works wonderfully. Open comb. I did a shave a while back with it, and it depends on how you whip up your lather, and so as the lather is working through the open comb, I had it thick enough, the lather thick enough to where it came out like fingers coming through there. It just looked kind of cool. Usually my lather is somewhat on the wet or moist side, but every once in a while I do whip it up a little bit thicker. Just depends on what you like and what you want to work with. I can go with a thicker lather on a DE, but when it comes to shave-its and straight razors, I like it a little bit more on the wet side, a little bit slicker to work with. I would say this is probably on the upper end of mild in aggressiveness, or the lower end of medium. In my opinion, it's very user-friendly. Don't know I would have somebody start out with one, because there's just a little bit of a blade field. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. I have not seen one, not that I'm constantly looking by any means. In other words, in the original container. Don't know what that would look like. That is one thing about this particular shaver. Another reason why I wouldn't necessarily start somebody out on one of these is kind of see how the angle is on it. It's pretty flat, not a whole lot of arch to it, and you have to kind of pay attention to your angle, because otherwise your shave's not going to go so well. Palmolive worked just like a champ. Had no problems lathering it up, even with a synthetic knot. And I guess, it depends on what you're used to lathering your shaves up with, whether you're used to using natural bristles or if you're using a synthetic. You may have to adjust, in other words, the amount of water you put in it. You have to keep in mind that natural bristles not only soak up water, but they'll still hold water in between the bristles, where the synthetic will just hold water in between the bristles. It is something to kind of give it some thought when you're going through your lathering process and using different brushes, different knots and whatnot. All right, Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements, alum block complete with rubber band. It is getting smaller. I'd venture to say this is probably going to last me the rest of this year. Maybe even going into the next. Got just a little bit of stinging right down here. Just a little bit, nothing major. No weepers. Sometimes they don't pop up until after I put the aftershave on, which is, to me, kind of interesting why that happens, but I don't feel like that's going to be the case today. Stirling's Witch Hazel. This one here is unscented, but it is mentholated. Have that nice cooling effect afterwards. Got that peppermint. That's it. Not peppermint, but it reminds me of peppermint. But that menthol, it just working great. Just great for my nose. Opens it right on up. That's the thing about a lot of the aftershaves from Master, in my opinion. At least for my nose, it works well. There's probably going to be a number of people that aren't going to like this scent, because, like I say, it is a manly scent. It's not. Doesn't remind me any cologne I remember smelling. It has that classic type scent to it. It does take a little bit of work to get it out of there with that small restrictor there. Don't know if anybody's noticed. I'm sure a lot of people have noticed that Rockwell has released their new adjustable T2, and the original one, they made some improvements. I read about it, so I'm not for sure exactly how all that's going to come into play. One of the reasons why I was holding off on the first version was because the length of the handle seemed to be a bit long for me. Uh, Way too long. It just didn't look like, with my hands no bigger than what they are, it seemed just a bit big. But this one here, since they came out, it said that's 3.5 inches on the handle length, might make it a little bit more inviting for a number of folks. If you're got smaller hands and don't need a handle that's like 4.5 inches, that thing looked like it was huge. But anyway, thought I would throw that out there and see what people might think about the new Rockwell adjustable T2. First thing I think of is Terminator. I'm sorry. But anyway, hope everybody's doing well. Stay safe, stay healthy, and smooth shaves to you.